Chapter 21 Resolving the Crisis. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After killing 3 waves of people, Wu Fan and his group finally arrived at the medicine gang camp and joined the battle. After the previous killings, Wu Fan was now somewhat accustomed. He was seen rushing through the crowd, and few people were his match. Wu Fan did not dare to stay too far away from the Changyang people, so that he could rescue them at any time. He was also paying attention to the battle on Song Fei's side. He was afraid that Song Fei would encounter any accidents. In this way, as time passed, the people of the Tianlang gang were also afraid of Wu Fan's killing. As long as Wu Fan's figure was there, the people of the Tianlang gang would immediately retreat. In fact, Wu Fan only used 20% of his strength at most. When Wu Fan and his group killed near Yang Wentian, when he saw the battle between Yang Wentian and the other two, he realized how powerful the top masters were. No one dared to approach Yang Wentian and Lang Dabiao within 10 feet. Both of them were people with deep internal strength. The place where they fought was really flying sand and rocks, and any sword energy could split a big hole in the ground. Wu Fan watched the fight between Yang Wentian and the other two, and had a rough idea of his own strength. He thought that if he went to kill Lang Dabiao, he should be able to kill him within 3 moves. This also showed how powerful and terrifying the 4th level of fire-burning art was. Up to now, both sides had suffered heavy casualties. Seeing that the fight between Yang Wentian and the other two was about to come to an end, Lang Dabiao was gradually falling into a disadvantage. At this moment, Lang Dabiao shouted, "Fan Qingdong, why don't you take action now?" When Yang Wentian heard this, his face suddenly became extremely ugly. Fan Qingdong was also a top master. He could still deal with Lang Dabiao alone, but if there was another person, he would be in great danger today. At this time, a laugh was heard from afar. "Haha, Brother Wolf, why are you so anxious? I've been watching." A figure flew out from the crowd in the distance and landed in front of the two of them. The man was about 60 years old, with small eyes, wearing a black robe, and looking at Yang Wentian and the others with a smile on his face. The person who came was none other than Fan Qingdong, the leader of the Huyan gang. "Fan Qingdong, I didn't expect you to really come. I have no grudges against you." "What do you mean?" Yang Wentian asked Fan Qingdong with an angry look. "What do you mean?" "Ha ha ha, of course I am interested in your territory. Brother Wolf offered a price, so I have to come." "Brother Yang, I'm really sorry." Fan Qingdong said with a big laugh. Yang Wentian said with an unpleasant face, "Whatever he gives you, I can also give you. You can retreat now." "Brother Yang, it's too late. The arrow is on the string now. I can't retreat. Even if I really retreat, can you give me half of the territory?" Fan Qingdong looked at Yang Wentian and said sarcastically. "What are you talking about? Kill him quickly." Lang Dabiao said impatiently. After saying that, Lang Dabiao had already rushed towards Yang Wentian. Yang Wentian also fought with him. At this time, Fan Qingdong also joined in. 2 against 1, Yang Wentian knew that he could not beat them. After a few moves, he gradually became weak. Yang Wentian knew that he was going to be finished. The medicine gang would also be removed from the Jianghu. The foundation of hundreds of years would also go with him and would no longer exist. Thinking of this, Yang Wentian's eyes were a little wet. He felt ashamed of his ancestors and all the brothers in the medicine gang. Just when he was slightly distracted, Fan Qingdong seized the opportunity and stabbed his sword straight at his head. Yang Wentian immediately waved his hand to block. Lang Dabiao saw the opportunity and stabbed Yang Wentian's heart with a knife. Yang Wentian thought he could not avoid the knife, and Lang Dabiao also showed an evil smile at the corner of his mouth. At this moment, a sword light suddenly fell from the sky, and the sword light went straight down. There was a loud bang, and the swords below were all knocked away. Yang Wentian had already stepped into hell with 1 foot, and then retreated. He knew that he was saved, but he didn't know who saved him, because even if he was a top master, it was impossible to block the knife and sword at the same time, let alone the joint attack of 2 top masters, but the person who saved him did it. Yang Wentian looked up and saw a young boy standing next to him. wearing a green gown with the 3 words Huachuntang printed on the cuffs. The 2 people on the opposite side, Lang Dabiao and Fan Qingdong, looked at Wu Fan with sullen faces. "Who are you?" Lang Dabiao asked. "Of course I am from the medicine gang," Wu Fan said, shaking the long sword in his hand. "Little guy, do you want to die?" Fan Qingdong shouted with gritted teeth. "Of course I don't want to die, so you guys go and die." Wu Fan rushed straight to the 2 of them after he finished speaking. Everyone around stopped fighting and looked over here. Before, everyone thought it was over soon and the medicine gang would be removed from the Jianhu this time, but no one expected that at this moment, a young man suddenly rushed out, and this young man was still so powerful. More than 50 people from Huachuntang in the distance were also looking at this side, including Lu Lao, Song Fei, Hu Laoda, Su Kuan, Chen Ping and others. Everyone was stunned. I saw that a sword light suddenly shot out from the long sword in Wu Fan's hand, and the sword light went straight to Fan Qingdong, while Wu Fan himself rushed in front of Lang Dabiao. Wu Fan was actually going to fight 2 people alone. Fan Qingdong hurriedly raised his sword to block, but the sword light instantly pierced his long sword. Fan Qingdong's face immediately turned red, and then his body flew backwards uncontrollably. After flying for more than 10 feet, he landed with a bang. Fan Qingdong opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. When Lang Dabiao saw this scene, he was immediately horrified. There was no time for him to think, because Wu Fan's long sword was already stabbing straight at his head. Lang Dabiao swung his sword with all his strength. With a bang, Lang Dabiao followed Fan Qingdong's footsteps and spurted out a mouthful of blood in the air. There was silence all around, and everyone was stunned. 2 top masters were beaten to spit blood by a teenager. This was simply too unimaginable. Wu Fan didn't give him a chance, and flew to catch up with Lang Dabiao and pierced his heart with a sword. Since then, a top master, the leader of the Tianlang gang, Lang Dabiao, died. Wu Fan looked back at Fan Qingdong who was climbing up, and raised the long sword in his hand to point at him. "Young man, spare my life, spare my life. I was bewitched by Lang Dabiao. I know I was wrong. I don't dare to do it anymore. Please spare my life." Fan Qingdong suddenly knelt on his knees, and then began to beg Wu Fan for mercy. Wu Fan looked back at Yang Wentian and said, "The leader will decide. Come here, take Fan Qingdong away." Yang Wentian came to his senses at this time and immediately shouted orders. Half a day later, these invading enemies of the Tianlang gang died or escaped. Since then, the medicine gang has finally overcome this crisis. Chapter 22 Immortal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the headquarters of the medicine gang, there were 3 people sitting in a hall. "Brother Lu, you haven't been back in Qingshan City for 5 years, right? Huichun Hall is managed very well by you, thank you for your hard work." Yang Wentian looked at Mr. Lu and said with a smile, "This is what I should do." "You're welcome, gang leader," Mr. Lu hurriedly replied. "Ha ha ha, Brother Lu, you have taught a good apprentice. If it were not for Xiaofan this time, our medicine gang would be removed from the world. I will give you a big credit this time," Yang Wentian said with a laugh. Without waiting for Mr. Lu to reply, Yang Wentian turned to look at Wu Fan and said with a smile, "Xiao Fan, it's all thanks to you this time. If you want anything, just ask. As long as I can give it, I will never refuse. The leader of the gang is serious. I am a member of the Yao gang, so it is my duty to contribute to the Yao gang." Wu Fan replied with some embarrassment. "Okay, good boy." The smile on Yang Wentian's face grew wider. At this time, Yang Wentian looked at Mr. Lu again and said at the same time, "Brother Lu, you have been stationed in Qingshan City for so many years. Now you are old and you should not be too tired. I think you should come back to the headquarters for retirement. Then I will. What do you think about sending someone to Qingshan City to replace you?" That when Lu Lao heard this, he was immediately stunned. Then he realized that the gang leader wanted to keep him and Wu Fan at the headquarters, and it was also because they had made meritorious services this time. The gang leader would reward him in this way again. He knew, as long as he nods in agreement, then he doesn't need to do anything in the future, and he can take care of himself and take care of his old age with ease. but he is reluctant to leave Qingshan City. He has lived in Qingshan City for so many years, and it is wrong to say that he has no feelings. Possibly, thinking of this, Mr. Lu immediately said. Thank you in advance, the leader of the gang, for your kindness. However, I'm still in good health and can still do some things for the gang. Besides, I really can't bear to leave Huachuntang Pharmacy. I have put too much effort into it, so I still stay here. Let's take care of ourselves in Qingshan City, Mr. Lu replied apologetically. Hey, since you have made your decision, Brother Lu, I won't advise you anymore, but I will have to work hard for you in the future. Yang Wentian sighed and said, then he turned to look at Wu Fan and asked, what about you, Xiaofan? Do you want to come to the headquarters? I will do my best to train you in the future, and I will even pass on my position to you. What do you think? That Wu Fan was also stunned. He didn't expect the gang leader to say this, but he was not interested in the position of the leader of the medicine gang, and he didn't want to leave his family, so he could only reply, thank you gang leader for your love, but I don't want to leave my family. I just want to live in Qingshan City. Okay, that's up to you, but Xiaofan, can you tell me, you are young, but your internal strength is so strong, what kind of skills have you learned? Yang Wentian asked hesitantly. Go back to the gang leader, I learned the fire-burning technique in the Sutra Pavilion, Wu Fan immediately replied. Hua Fenju. Yang Wentian was stunned, and his expression changed immediately. He then turned back to look at old Lu and said, Brother Lu, please go out first. I have something to talk to Xiaofan alone. Then I'll go out to meet my old friends and chat with you guys, gang leader. After finishing speaking, Mr. Lu stood up and walked out. After Mr. Lu left, Yang Wentian looked at Wu Fan and said, Xiaofan, do you know what the fire-burning technique is? I don't know. Master just told me that not everyone can practice this technique. Back then, I only practiced this technique with the idea of giving it a try, Wu Fan replied honestly. Wu Fan thought there was something wrong with Hua Fenju and Yang Wentian wanted to tell him, but Yang Wentian stopped mentioning the technique and actually talked about other things. Just listen to Yang Wentian ask, Xiaofan, do you know about immortal cultivators? Immortal cultivator? Wu Fan was stunned. Yes, they are immortal cultivators, what we mortals call immortals. They can fly into the sky and escape from the earth, move mountains and seas, and are omnipotent. Moreover, their lifespan is endless. It is said that they will not die of old age for hundreds or even thousands of years. Yang Wentian said with an envious look. Isn't that the story told by the storyteller in the tea house? Wu Fan said noncommittally. Actually, that's all true. Immortals do exist in the world, and we have immortals in Great Xia. Yang Wentian looked at Wu Fan seriously and said. This. Wu Fan didn't know what to say. This felt like a fantasy. I know you don't believe it. I didn't believe it when I was young. Until one time, when I followed the previous generation of gang leaders to the capital of Daxia, I saw an immortal with my own eyes. Yang Wentian said with a look of reminiscence on his face. Yang Wentian didn't give Wu Fan a chance to speak, and then said, Xiao Fan, in fact, the fire-burning technique you practiced is the cultivation method of immortality. Wu Fan was a little dumbfounded after hearing this. He was so shocked that what he learned was actually the technique practiced by immortals. Wu Fan didn't realize it for a while. I heard Yang Wentian sigh and continue, in the entire Yao gang, I am the only one who knows the secret of this technique. This is something that is passed down orally from generation to generation of gang leaders. At that time, I thought that I had good talent and could practice this technique. Kung Fu, it turned out that I was wrong. I practiced it for 5 years, but finally gave up all my efforts. In a rage, I threw this Kung Fu book away. But I didn't expect that this Kung Fu book was actually collected by your drugstore. That year everyone in the Yao gang thinks that this is a unique inner skill and mental method, but it has limitations and cannot be learned by everyone, but I am the only one who knows that this is actually a method of cultivating immortals. After Yang Wentian finished speaking, He looked at Wu Fan, and the expression on Wu Fan's face was indeed a little uncertain. He was too shocked, but he thought of the mysterious bead again, and he had a new understanding of the world. I went to the capital with the previous generation of gang leaders. When I passed a village, I saw a terrible scene. At that time, there was a huge monster more than 10 feet tall, attacking the village. The monster looked like a bear, but it was too big. One of its feet was bigger than me. I was scared at the time. At that time, an immortal flew in the sky. I saw him throwing a sword. The sword became bigger and bigger. In the end, it became 20 feet in size. Then the giant sword chopped towards the huge monster and directly split the monster in half. I saw the immortal flicked his sleeves, and the monster disappeared. Then the immortal flew away. Yang Wentian said with reminiscence in his eyes. Xiao Fan, I think you should go out and explore. If you have the opportunity to see immortals, it's best to join their sect, so that you can also cultivate immortality. Yang Wentian looked at Wu Fan with encouraging eyes and said. Wu Fan was also yearning for what Yang Wentian said, thinking that if he could fly and hide in the sky and live forever in the future, it would be great. Xiao Fan, go and explore. I will take care of your family for you. If you really cultivate immortality in the future, my only request is that if the medicine gang is in trouble in the future, I hope you can help, then I will have no regrets. Yang Wentian said slowly. Wu Fan thought for a while, and slowly showed a firm look in his eyes, and immediately said, Boss, I listen to you. Yang Wentian nodded and smiled. Chapter 23 Qiyun Mountains. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 7 days later, more than 50 horses galloped outside Qingshan city. When they arrived at the city gate, these 50 people dismounted. After being inspected, they slowly drove into the city. These more than 50 people were Changyang and others who returned from the Yaogang headquarters. They only stayed at the Yaogang headquarters for 3 days and then all returned. Before returning, Yang Wentian promised Wu Fan that he would take care of his family for him, and at the same time gave Wu Fan a lot of silver. Knowing that Wu Fan was leaving, Mr. Lu also promised Wu Fan that he would take care of his family. In this way, Wu Fan stayed with his parents in Qingshan city for a month. 1 month later, the hall of the Wu family's residence was crowded with people. Almost everyone in the Huichun hall came, including Meng Hetong from Baya's High, Meng Saidi, and Gao Qingbin from Black Wolf Escort Agency. They all came too. Brother Xiaofan, I don't want to let you go. After you leave, I will be the only one left. How boring that would be. Seinfeld said with red eyes. Wu Fan and Song Fei grew up together, studied together, ate together, practiced martial arts together, and never left. When Wu Fan left, Song Fei couldn't accept it for a while. It's not like I won't come back. Don't worry, I will come back to see you often. Wu Fan said jokingly, patting Seinfeld on the shoulder. Xiao Fan, you have to take care of yourself when you go out alone from now on. Mr. Lu looked at his apprentice, his eyes were slightly red. It can be said that Mr. Lu watched Wu Fan grow up, and he has always regarded this disciple as. He was born, and now this disciple was about to leave him. He felt an indescribable sadness in his heart. Maybe it was because he was old and he had no children, so he wanted to keep his disciple to accompany him for the rest of his life. Wu Fan looked at Mr. Lu's old face and felt very sad. From childhood to adulthood, apart from his parents, Master was the only one who treated him the best. Thinking of this, Wu Fan suddenly knelt in front of Mr. Lu and said at the same time, Master, disciple is unfilial, I won't be able to take care of you in the future. Old Lu's body trembled, and he burst into tears. He hurriedly bent down and pulled Wu Fan up, saying, It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Just feel free to go out and explore. I still have Xiao Fei. At this time, Boss Hu hurriedly came over. He felt that the atmosphere was not right. There were so many outsiders here. Then he smiled and said, Mr. Lu, Xiaofan's martial arts is so high, who can beat him? I think you should not worry about it. That's right, with Xiaofan's current martial arts, where in the world can he go? Su Kun also said at this time, Meng Caidi came to Wu Fan. Her eyes were moist, and she looked at Wu Fan without blinking. Her lips moved slightly, and she hesitated for a long time, but did not say a word. After a while, I heard her tremblingly say, "Brother Xiao Fan, take care." After saying that, she turned around and ran out. Her sobbing could still be heard faintly in the distance. Wu Fan looked at Meng Caidi's back and let out a sigh in his heart. 2 hours later, outside the gate of Wu Mansion, Wu Fan got on his horse and turned around to look at everyone, his parents' reluctant expressions, his sister Xiaoyu's crying face, his elder brother Wu Hao waving to him, and all the others. After taking one look at the man, he turned around and rode away. From then on, Wu Fan embarked on the journey to find the Immortal. The place Wu Fan is going to this time is Yunxi City, the capital of Daxia Kingdom. Yunxi City is tens of thousands of miles away from Qingshan City and needs to cross 3 states, so Wu Fan really needs to travel a long distance. Before leaving, Wu Fan prepared many things and placed them in the small space, including dry food to eat, clothes to change, and some healing medicine, antidote and the like. 1 year later, in the capital, outside the city gate, I saw a young man with a long history of travel coming from a distance. This young man rode a black horse and wore a green shirt and came straight to the city gate. Stop, dismount and undergo inspection. An officer and soldier held a long knife and stopped in front of the young man and said. The young man dismounted and went into the city after being inspected. This young man was Wu Fan. After a long journey, he finally arrived in the capital 1 year later. Wu Fan is now 18 years old and is no longer as immature as before. Perhaps because of his practice in the fire-burning art, Wu Fan himself has an aura of inviolability, so not many people have come this year. Looking for trouble with him because he is young, along the way, he met several mountain bandits and road bullies. After Wu Fan killed them with a few swords, he continued on the road. During this year, Wu Fan traveled during the day and entered the space to practice at night. Although he still has not reached the 5th level of Huofeng Ju, he has now reached the peak of the 4th level and can break through to the 5th level at any time. The capital is worthy of being the capital of the great Xia Kingdom. Its prosperity is not comparable to that of a remote town like Qingshan City. Its size is hundreds of times larger than Qingshan City. Even if you want to visit the entire capital, you won't be able to do so in less than half a month. Done. After Wu Fan came to the capital, he randomly found an inn to stay. He went to some tea houses or restaurants every day and sat in the lobby for a whole day, listening to other people talking. On this day, Wu Fan was eating in a restaurant and heard someone at the table next to him say, "Brother Song, have you heard? Some time ago, in a small town outside our capital, the demon wolf came out to harm people again. But this time an immortal finally came and killed the demon wolf. I heard that the demon wolf often went to that town to eat people. The people in that town almost left and didn't dare to live there. I heard that half a month ago, an immortal went there and killed the demon wolf. Those who left dared to go back." Another person at the table said. When Wu Fan heard this, he immediately stood up and walked over, sitting directly opposite the 2 people at the table. At the same time, he turned his head and shouted to the front, "Boss, the wine and food for this table will be charged to my account. Bring me some good wine and food." That I only heard a reply from the other side, "Okay, guest." The 2 people at the table looked at each other, and one of them said, "Thank you, little brother. I wonder if you have anything to do." "Nothing, you're welcome. I like to listen to stories about immortals the most. I just heard the 2 brothers talking about immortals, and I couldn't help but come over." Wu Fan said with a smile. When the 2 people on the opposite side heard what Wu Fan said, they immediately nodded in sudden realization, so the little brother likes to listen to stories about immortals. The other person said with a smile, "Brother, do you know where to see immortals?" Wu Fan asked with a smile. "We don't know that. Immortals come and go without a trace. We mortals usually can't see them. People with good luck can see immortals flying in the sky." One of them said, only to hear another person say, "But I heard that immortals can often be seen in the Qiyun Mountains, which is about 1,000 miles away from our capital." It's just that the mountains are very dangerous. Once someone walks in, it's not easy to get out. There were also a few people who walked out before. According to them, as long as you go deep into the mountains, you will get lost and can't get out. When Wu Fan heard this, he already had an idea in his mind. He wanted to go to the Qiyun Mountains. Chapter 24 Qingfeng Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 10 days later, Qiyun Mountains, at the foot of the mountain range, Wu Fan looked up at the mountains. This Qiyun Mountains is more magnificent than the Yendang Mountains. It is said that this Qiyun Mountains is ranked among the top 5 in the entire Daxia Kingdom. The entire mountain range is thousands of miles in radius. It is said that there are monsters in the depths of the mountains. Wu Fan whispered to himself, monsters are different from fierce beasts. Monsters can only be killed by immortals. Mortals are simply powerless to fight them. It is said that some monsters are particularly large, dozens of feet, or even hundreds of feet. The abilities of monsters are also different. Some can fly and hide in the ground, with infinite strength, and some can swallow clouds and spit out mist, can spit fire, can hide in the ground, and can perform various magic. When Wu Fan heard these words, he was really afraid and yearned to see a monster. After Wu Fan looked at the mountains again, he pulled out the long sword at his waist and ran straight to the mountains with gritted teeth. 5 days later, Wu Fan looked at the corpse of a spotted tiger at his feet, wiped the blood off. The long sword in his hand, turned around and walked towards the depths of the mountains again. Wu Fan was relatively peaceful in the first 2 days after entering the mountain, and he did not encounter many beasts. From the 3rd day, more beasts attacked him. Today was the 6th beast he killed. Some beasts were very powerful, and even he had to go through a fierce battle to kill them, but Wu Fan finally came to the depths, the 6th day. Strange, why haven't I encountered any beasts for a long time? Wu Fan whispered to himself. Wu Fan looked forward, he felt something was wrong. In the past half-day, he had walked unusually smoothly. After he couldn't think of the result, Wu Fan shook his head and continued to move forward. Half a day later, Wu Fan looked forward with a sullen face, because he remembered that he had been here before. Wu Fan remembered clearly that he had rested on that stone. What's going on? I've been walking towards the depths, and I've been looking at the sun to identify the direction. Normally, I shouldn't have walked back. Wu Fan whispered in silence. Wu Fan was helpless, and he stood up again and walked towards the depths of the mountains. Half a day passed. Wu Fan sat on the stone with a bitter face. Yes, Wu Fan walked back again. Wu Fan knew that he was lost. He seemed to have been going in circles. Seeing that it was getting dark, he decided to go again tomorrow. At noon the next day, Wu Fan was about to collapse. He couldn't go up the mountain now, let alone go back. No matter which way he went, he would eventually return here. On this day, when the sun was about to set, a ray of light flew from the horizon in the distance. In the ray of light was an old man. The old man was wearing a white Taoist robe. Although he looked about 60 years old, his face was full of red light, and he didn't look old at all. He was flying with a long sword under his feet. The old man muttered, "The bastards in Yaowang Valley said they would sell me the snowbone ginseng for 5,000 spirit stones, but they asked me for another 1,000 spirit stones during the transaction. I am so angry. If I was not in a hurry to use the snowbone ginseng, I would not have been so angry. Wait, I will get revenge sooner or later." After the old man finished speaking angrily, he suddenly looked down. Hey, which peak is this disciple from? How could he be trapped in the illusion array? He has already practiced Qi at the 4th level, why doesn't he fly out? The old man looked at the young man below and whispered to himself. As the old man spoke, he flew down on the flying sword. Wu Fan was sitting on the stone with an ugly face. He was trying to figure out how to get out. He remembered that the man in the restaurant said that if you go deep into the mountains, you will get lost, and it will be difficult to get out. At that time, he didn't take it seriously, thinking that it was all rumors. He didn't expect that this incident really happened to him. At this moment, he suddenly saw a bright light in the sky in the distance, and that light was flying towards him. Wu Fan's heart tightened, and he opened his eyes wide to look over. He saw that the light stopped 10 feet above him, and then he heard a voice. "Which peak are you from? How did you get trapped here? Where is your flying magic weapon?" That the light gradually dimmed, revealing the figure inside. It was an old man in a white robe, with a long sword under his feet. Wu Fan knew that he had finally seen an immortal. Seeing that the young man didn't speak, the old man frowned and continued to ask, "Are you a disciple of Qingfeng Sect?" Reporting to the immortal master, "I am not a disciple of Qingfeng Sect. I am just a mortal. I walked in accidentally and now I can't get out." Wu Fan quickly bowed and clasped his fists and said respectfully, "Mortal. You are already in the 4th level of Qi training period, how can you still be a mortal? Where are you from?" The old man asked again. Reporting to the immortal master, "I am from Qingzhou and Qingshan City." Wu Fan hurriedly replied respectfully. Wu Fan was nervous and excited. He was nervous because it was his first time seeing an immortal. It would be strange if he wasn't nervous. He was excited because it was his first time seeing an immortal. He came to Qiyun mountain range from afar just to find an immortal. "Where did you get the technique you practiced?" The old man frowned and asked again. Reporting to the immortal master, "There is a medicine shop called Huachentang in Qingshan City. When I was 12 years old, I found this technique in that medicine shop." Wu Fan didn't dare to hide it and could only tell everything. "Oh, since you have no sect, how about this, you follow me back to Qingfeng Sect first, and after the deacon disciple finds out your background, you can join my Qingfeng Sect. I wonder if you are willing?" The old man said with a smile. "Yes, disciple is willing." Wu Fan was overjoyed and hurriedly replied. "In that case, then you can follow me." After the old man finished speaking, he flicked his sleeves. Wu Fan felt a flash before his eyes. When he regained consciousness, he found that he was already standing on the old man's flying sword, and then the flying sword broke through the air, thousands of feet high in the sky. Wu Fan stood on the flying sword, looking down, and saw that the endless mountains and the towering trees became so small in his eyes. Wu Fan's legs were shaking unconsciously. He had never stood so high before, and he couldn't help feeling a little scared. A quarter of an hour later, the old man said, "Little guy, we've arrived at Qingfeng Sect." Wu Fan looked around. There was no sect here. In his eyes, the mountains below were just ordinary ones. He thought, "Is this immortal master kidding me?" Just then, the immortal master stopped the flying sword, and then he flicked his sleeves. A huge transparent light shield appeared in front of him. The light shield was so big that you couldn't see the end at a glance. At this moment, the huge light shield suddenly cracked, and then the old man controlled the flying sword to whoosh through it. After passing through the light shield, another scene appeared in front of Wu Fan. He stared with his eyes wide open, his mouth opened so wide, and his jaw was about to drop. It was so beautiful. Isn't this the blessed land of the immortals? Look at the mountains that soared into the sky, the pavilions that looked like jade buildings, the palaces that looked like purple palaces and golden palaces, and the lake that was as clear as a mirror. Wu Fan looked into the sky again and saw immortals flying on swords in the sky. Some of them flew on white cranes, and some flew on a white cloud. These immortals flew past Wu Fan from time to time, and Wu Fan's eyes were wide open. Is this the immortal world? Chapter 25 Entering the Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man drove the flying sword to a mountain peak and landed on a huge platform. Directly in front of the platform was a hall dozens of feet high. Wu Fan stepped off the flying sword and followed the old man forward. At this moment, a man in his 20s walked out of the door of the main hall. When the man saw the old man, he hurried over and at the same time bent down and cupped his fists and said, "Meet elderly. It's Master Nephew Lu, are you on duty today?" The old man said with a smile. Reporting to elderly, "I am on duty today. Is there anything I need my disciples to do?" Said the man surnamed Lu. The old man looked back at Wu Fan and said, "This is a little guy I just brought back. His name is Wu Fan. Send someone to Qingzhou, Qingshan City, and Huichun Hall to check his background. If he is innocent, let him stay in the outer gate of Qingfeng Gate to practice. Whether he can enter the inner gate depends on his own ability. Disciple, I will send someone to Qingzhou right now. The man surnamed Lu said with his fists clasped. At this time, the old man turned around and looked at Wu Fan and said, Xiao Fan, come here and give me your arm. Wu Fan quickly walked over and stretched out his hand. The old man reached out and held Wu Fan's arm. Wu Fan felt a stream of heat entering his body. This stream of heat circled around in his body and then disappeared. At this moment, the old man looked at Wu Fan with a strange look in his eyes, and at the same time he let out a sigh. It's such a pity that the 5 elements have mixed spiritual roots. The old man muttered to himself in a low voice, and then flew away with the sword light on his feet. Wu Fan was the only 2 people left on the square. The man took out a piece of yellow paper and put it to his mouth. He whispered a few words to the yellow paper and then moved his arms with a flick. The yellow paper magically flew away. Only then did he look at Wu Fan, and then said, Junior brother, my name is Lu Junhui. If you don't understand anything in the future, you can come to the Deacon Hall and ask me. I will take you to your residence now. Thank you, senior brother. Wu Fan quickly replied with clasped fists. Senior brother Lu didn't reply. He turned over his hands and took out something. When he looked carefully, he saw that it was a green boat. Then he threw the boat up. He saw that the boat got bigger and bigger, and finally became 2 feet in size. His surname was Lu. The man jumped up with a single leap. At the same time, he looked back at Wu Fan and said, Junior brother Wu, come up too. Wu Fan looked at the green boat with envy in his eyes and jumped on it at the same time. I saw the small boat rising directly into the sky, taking the 2 of them straight forward. About a quarter of an hour later, the boat stopped in front of a mountain peak. The mountain peak was very huge. There was a large valley at the top of the mountain. There were densely packed courtyards in the valley, some pavilions, and even a small lake. The man surnamed Lu had controlled the boat to a platform and landed on it, and said at the same time, Junior brother Wu, this peak is Luoxia Peak in the outer courtyard. You will practice here from now on. Lu Junfeng thought for a while and then said, by the way, Junior brother Wu, I have just used the transmission talisman to notify a junior brother. He should be on his way to Qingshan City now. Your matter will be resolved in half a month. As a result, you are not allowed to leave your compound during this period, you know. I understand, thank you, senior brother, Wu Fan replied immediately. Well, let's find a place to stay. After saying that, he led Wu Fan towards an attic. After entering the attic, Wu Fan saw a middle-aged man sitting behind the desk. He only heard the middle-aged man say, Hey, why is junior brother Lu free to come here today? Senior brother Wang, I sent junior brother Wu Fan here today on the order of elderly. I can only ask you to find a place for junior brother Wu to stay in the courtyard. In half a month, if nothing unexpected happens, junior brother Wu will be a disciple of the outer courtyard. When the time comes, I will have to ask my senior brother to help him with the entry procedures, Lu Junhui said. It turns out it was Elder Li's order. Don't worry, junior brother Lu, everything will be taken care of by me. The middle-aged man surnamed Wang said without thinking. Then the 3 of them walked towards the courtyard group. A quarter of an hour later, the 3 of them stopped in a courtyard. They saw that the courtyard was about an acre in size. There were some trees in the courtyard. There was a small forest behind the courtyard and in front of it. It is a lake, and the houses are made of an unknown white stone. They are very beautiful. Junior brother Wu, you should live in this courtyard from now on. This courtyard is coveted by many people. It used to be lived by a junior brother. Some time ago, he achieved good results in the outer sect competition and was watched by an elder. Zhongshu became a disciple, and now he has reached the sky in one step and directly became an inner disciple, so this courtyard has become vacant. Many people have begged me for this courtyard, but I have blocked them all. Since you know elderly, then I will give this courtyard to you, senior brother. The middle-aged man named Wang looked at Wu Fan and said with a smile. Thank you, senior brother Wang, Wu Fan quickly replied with his fists clasped, and at the same time his face showed joy. Wu Fan really likes this courtyard. The scenery here is beautiful and it is very quiet. There are no other courtyards around. When he practices here, he is not afraid of others discovering his secrets. It will be much easier to enter a small space in the future. At this time, Lu Junhui said, if nothing happens, I will go back to the Deacon Hall. I am on duty today and cannot leave for too long. Junior brother Lu, please go back first. Just leave the matter of junior brother Wu to me. The middle-aged man surnamed Wang said. After Lu Junhui said thank you, he released the flying boat and flew away. Junior brother Wu, please go back to your courtyard to rest. My name is Wang Lei. If you need anything in the future, you can always come to me. The middle-aged man named Wang looked at Wu Fan and said with a smile. Thank you, senior brother. I may have to trouble you often in the future. Wu Fan clasped his fists and bowed. No need to be so polite. We will be fellow disciples in the future. Besides, I am from the Office of Affairs, so it is my duty to do these things. Wang Lei turned around and left. Wu Fan walked into the courtyard, walked around the courtyard, and then came to the house. The house was fully equipped and there was nothing missing. He chose a room and lay on the bed, thinking about his experiences in the past few days. He felt like he was dreaming. He had been away from Qingshan City for more than a year. After so much experience, he finally saw the Immortal and joined the Immortal sect as he wished. Thinking of this, Wu Fan showed a happy smile at the corner of his mouth. Half a month passed in a flash, and on that day, senior brother Lu came to Wu Fan's residence and shouted, "Is junior brother Wu here?" Wu Fan was practicing in the house. Hearing the voice, he hurriedly got up and walked out. After seeing that it was senior brother Lu, he hurriedly said, "It turned out to be senior brother Lu. Please come in and sit down." I won't go in. I will go back after I finish my work. The steward's hall is very busy. Junior brother Wu, I would like to congratulate you first. After verification, your background is innocent. From now on, you will officially become a disciple of Qingfeng sect. You can go to the affairs office later and find senior brother Wang to help you register. Senior brother Lu said with a laugh. Chapter 26, Solving the Puzzle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing what senior brother Lu said, Wu Fan was immediately overjoyed. He quickly clasped his fists and said, "Thank you, senior brother Lu. I'll go find senior brother Wang now." Junior brother Wu, wait a moment, don't leave in a hurry. Senior brother Lu laughed and said. Brother Lu took out a white jade plate and wrote some words on it. Then he threw the jade plate to Wu Fan and said at the same time, "This is your identity plate. You just need to put a little bit on it. Blood is enough, you will need it when you go to the Sutra Pavilion or the Alchemy Hall." Wu Fan stretched out his hand to take the jade plaque and took a look. One side of the jade plaque said the word Qingfeng, and the other side said the word Wu Fan. Without saying anything, Wu Fan bit his finger and squeezed out the jade plaque. After a drop of blood, the jade card suddenly lit up, and then returned to normal. Senior brother Lu looked at Wu Fan and smiled, then said, "Junior brother Wu, if there is nothing else, I will go back first." "Senior brother Lu, let's go slowly," Wu Fan said in farewell with his hands in hand. Senior brother Lu nodded, turned around, released the flying boat and flew away in a streak of escaping light. After senior brother Lu flew away, Wu Fan went directly to senior brother Wang without waiting. It was obvious that he was very anxious and wanted to complete the entry procedures immediately. A quarter of an hour later. "Junior brother Wu is here. Are you here to go through the entry procedures today?" Senior brother Wang Lei looked at Wu Fan and said. "Yes, senior brother. Senior brother Lu asked me to come here just now." Wu Fan replied. "Okay, I'll handle it for you right now. Have you brought junior brother Wu's identity plate?" Senior brother Wang asked. Bring it here. After Wu Fan finished speaking, he reached out and handed the jade token over. Senior brother Wang took it and looked at it carefully before returning the jade token to Wu Fan. Then he took out a book and picked up the pen started to write. After a while, senior brother Wang put away the book and said with a smile, Junior brother Wu, I have registered you in the book. From now on, you will be my Qingfeng Sect disciple. Senior brother, I am here to congratulate you. Thank you, senior brother Wang. Wu Fan was also very excited. At this time, Wu Fan finally officially joined the Immortal Cultivating Sect. He left home and his parents and traveled a long way here, just to learn the immortal method, and also thought that he could live for hundreds or even thousands of years in the future. This life will not be in vain. Thinking of this, Wu Fan couldn't help but feel a little happy. In the room, senior brother Wang looked at Wu Fan's happy look and smiled slightly. After a while, senior brother Wang took out another book and handed it to Wu Fan. At the same time, he said solemnly, Junior brother Wu, this is the rules and precepts of our Qingfeng sect. When you go back, you must read it first and copy the above. Remember, don't violate these rules and regulations in the future. If you violate any of these rules, you will be imprisoned for several years, and in serious cases, your body will be destroyed and your soul will be taken away. Wu Fan's expression immediately changed and he decided to take a look when he went back. He must be careful not to violate the rules in the future. At this time, senior brother Wang said again, Junior brother Wu, let me first tell you about our Qingfeng sect. Our sect is one of the 6 major sects of cultivating immortals in Xia Kingdom. The other 5 sects are Yaowang Valley and Ling sect. There are 5 major sects of cultivating immortals, including Xiaoguan, Birth Demon sect, Corpse Training sect, and Weapon Refining sect. There are also some immortal cultivating families in the Xia Kingdom. Although those immortal cultivating families are not as profound as our sect, some large immortal cultivating families should not be underestimated. Our Qingfeng sect was founded in the Qiyun Mountains and has more than 6,000 cultivating families since then. Over the years, it can be said that it has a profound foundation. Our sect is divided into the inner sect and the outer sect. What you are currently in is the Luoxia peak of the outer sect. Among the inner sect, each peak is a cave heaven paradise with rich spiritual energy. The speed of cultivation there is much faster than that of other places. Yes, but only those inner sect disciples, core disciples, and elders can live in the inner sect. It is not easy to become an inner sect disciple, but you can become an inner sect disciple through several methods. One is that he possesses that rare and special physique, such as those heavenly spiritual roots, thunder spiritual roots, Suyin body, 7-star moon body, ice marrow body, sword spirit body, etc. These, as long as the physique is discovered by the sect, it will be immediately focused on training and directly enter the inner sect. It is destined to be among the core disciples in the future. However, this kind of physique is not something that can be found casually. It costs hundreds of dollars. A special physique that is rare to see in 1,000 years. Second, if you pass the sect competition, perform well, and are favored by the elders, you will reach the sky in one step, and you will directly become an inner sect disciple. As long as you become an inner sect disciple, whether it is the resources provided by the sect or the cave for cultivation, those are simply incomparable to outer doors. Senior brother Wang paused here, waiting for Wu Fan to digest the information. Wu Fan finally knew that the Xia Kingdom did not only have the Qingfeng sect, but also the inner and outer sections. No wonder the elderly who brought him here said that whether he could become an inner sect disciple was up to him. It turned out that it was so difficult to become an inner disciple. Thinking of this, Wu Fan suddenly remembered the expression on Elder Li's face when he left, and what he said. At that time, Elder Li sighed first, and then said that the 5 elements have mixed spiritual roots. Something. Senior brother Wang, do you know what the 5 elements' miscellaneous spiritual roots are? Wu Fan looked at senior brother Wang and asked. Senior brother Wang looked at him with a strange look, and then said, then let me tell you about the theory of spiritual roots. We cultivators must have spiritual roots before we can practice. Without spiritual roots, it means you cannot cultivate immortality. For example, if the mortals who do not have spiritual roots practice the method you are practicing now, they will never be able to cultivate magic power. People with spiritual roots are rare. Among mortals, there may not be one person with spiritual roots in 10,000 people, so there are very few people who can cultivate immortals. However, spiritual roots are divided into good and bad. Spiritual roots are divided into 5 elements, namely gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. There are also some mutant spiritual roots, such as thunder spiritual roots, wind spiritual roots, etc. These mutant spiritual roots are all mutants from the 5-element spiritual roots. Let's talk about the heavenly spiritual roots first. Heavenly spiritual roots are the best spiritual roots with a single attribute, such as a single gold spiritual root or a single wood spiritual root. Their spiritual roots are of good quality and they can also cultivate much faster than others. The lower spiritual roots are the earthly spiritual roots. The earthly spiritual roots are those with 2 or 3 spiritual roots. They only have 2 or 3 spiritual roots in their bodies. Although they are not as good as heavenly spiritual roots, they still have the opportunity to enter the foundation building period in their lifetime. Below the earthly spiritual roots are the mixed spiritual roots, which are the mixed spiritual roots of the 4 spiritual roots and the 5 elements. It is very difficult to cultivate mixed spiritual roots because the spiritual roots in the body are too mixed and the cultivation speed is slow. Basically, they can never cultivate to the foundation building period in their lifetime. Senior Brother Wang looked at Wu Fan and said, "Do you understand now?" "I understand, Senior Brother Wang," Wu Fan replied with a pale face. Wu Fan now felt mixed emotions. He did not expect that his spiritual roots were the worst. He had imagined that he would work hard to cultivate and become a real immortal who could move mountains and fill the sea and live forever. But now he felt that his dream was shattered and he felt a little depressed. Chapter 27 Sutra Library. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Senior Brother Wang, what is the foundation building period you just mentioned? Wu Fan asked frustratedly. Senior Brother Wang glanced at Wu Fan's expression and knew that he was in a bad mood, but he did not show it. He just continued, "I see that you are now at the 40th percentile of practicing Qi. You are now among those who have just entered the realm of cultivating immortals. It is divided into Qi refining stage, foundation building stage and golden elixir stage. Among them, the Qi refining stage is divided into 12 levels. Each level of cultivation will make its strength much more powerful. When the cultivation reaches the 12th level of Dzogchen, then you can try to build the foundation, but building the foundation is not that simple. We Qingfeng sect has more than 3,000 disciples in total, and there are less than 100 elders in the foundation building stage. From this you can see that if you want to practice to the foundation building stage, how difficult is it? Most people can only stay in the Qi refining stage for their entire lives. However, as long as you break through to the foundation establishment stage, your lifespan can reach 300 years, and your strength will be drastically improved. Change, in the Great Xia Kingdom, as long as you don't encounter those few golden elixir stage ancestors, then you can go sideways. Let's talk about the golden elixir ancestors. They are truly powerful people. Not only are these golden elixir ancestors in Daxia Kingdom, but also in other parts of the mainland, they can also walk sideways. As long as they break through to the golden elixir, they can move sideways. Period. The lifespan can directly reach 700 to 800 years. After hearing this, Wu Fan was extremely shocked. The lifespan of 300 years in the foundation stage, and the ancestor of the golden elixir stage could live for 700 or 800 years. It was really very desirable and enviable at the same time. Senior Brother Wang, are there no more golden elixirs at the higher stages? Wu Fan looked at Senior Brother Wang with a curious look. The golden core stage is already out of reach. I don't even dare to think about it. If I can break through to the foundation establishment stage in this life, I will be very satisfied. But I heard that the golden core stage there is also a nascent soul stage. It is said that as long as you break through to the nascent soul stage, you can live for thousands of years. I don't know whether it is true or not. Our country of Daxia currently does not have a nascent soul stage. Senior brother Wang replied with a laugh. Wu Fan was a little stunned. He could live for thousands of years in the nascent soul stage. Wouldn't that make him a real living immortal? How powerful are they? Senior brother Wang, at what level in the qi refining stage can you fly in the air? Wu Fan asked what he was most concerned about. The 4th level is enough. By the way, you are currently on the 4th level. Now you can learn the air control technique. Later you can go to the Tibetan scripture pavilion to pick up a basic spell collection and practice it. The air control technique is just a small skill. The spell is nothing powerful, it's just good for traveling. Senior brother Wang immediately replied. When Wu Fan heard this, he immediately felt happy. Wu Fan had always envied those who could fly in the sky. After learning that he would soon be able to fly and escape, he felt unhappy. It was a lie. Senior brother Wang, I saw the flying boat that senior brother Lu was riding in before. What was it? Wu Fan had always envied senior brother Lu's flying boat and finally asked uncontrollably. Oh, that's a flying magic weapon. If you have a spiritual stone in the future, you can buy it, senior brother Wang replied. What is a spirit stone? Wu Fan asked confused. Elixir is like silver among mortals. It can be used for trading. It is also the currency of us cultivators. The spirit stone contains spiritual energy. It has many functions. It can be used to assist cultivation and build formations. It can be used to buy elixirs, magic weapons, and materials. You can buy almost everything we immortal cultivators use, including spiritual stones. Now that you are an outer disciple, the sect will also give you 30 spiritual stones every month. Senior brother Wang said and took out a stone to show to Wu Fan. Junior brother Wu, look, this is the spirit stone. Senior brother Wang stretched out his hand in front of Wu Fan and said. Wu Fan looked at the spirit stone in senior brother Wang's hand. It was a stone the size of a thumb, crystal clear, like jade. Wu Fan asked senior brother Wang many more questions. 2 hours later. Senior brother Wang, thank you very much for today. Wu Fan cupped his fists and bowed slightly to senior brother Wang. You're welcome. We are all fellow disciples. If you don't understand anything in the future, you can always ask me. Senior brother Wang said with a laugh, then he casually threw a small bag to Wu Fan and said at the same time, Junior brother, this is an item that every entry-level disciple can receive. This bag is called a storage bag. There is a small space inside that can store some items. You only need to pour some mana into it before you can access the items. There are also 2 sets of Qingfeng sect outer disciple clothes inside, as well as 30 spiritual stones, and a magic weapon flying sword. After I give these things to you, the task is considered completed. Wu Fan clasped his fists and saluted senior brother Wang again, and said at the same time, thank you, senior brother Wang. I understand. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Okay, then junior brother Wu, please go back first, I won't send you away. Senior brother Wang said with a smile. When Wu Fan returned to his courtyard, he saw Wu Fan playing with the small bag in his hand with great interest. He tipped the mouth of the bag down, and some items fell out. The items instantly became larger after flying out of the bag. Among them were spirit stones, flying swords, and clothes, and then he threw these things back into the bag. This storage bag is really magical. Although the space is not big, only 1 foot in size, it is very convenient. It is not like his mysterious space. If you want to put something, you have to wait for a quarter of an hour to bring it in. Wu Fan, he whispered softly to himself, then he took out the flying sword. This flying sword was shining and had a faint aura. Wu Fan had just tested it and found that this flying sword was much sharper than the long sword his elder brother gave him. However, this was normal. One was a flying sword used by immortals, and the other was an iron sword used by mortals. Of course, there was no comparison. Senior brother Wang had said before that as long as he learned the art of flying, he could fly with this flying sword. Then Wu Fan took out a white robe and put it on. According to senior brother Wang, this robe was also a low-level magic weapon. It could prevent dust when worn on the body, and it also had a certain degree of defense. As long as the magic power was infused into the robe, the weapons of mortals could not be broken. There were 3 golden characters on the clothes. Qingfeng. Wu Fan put all these items into the storage bag, hung the storage bag around his waist, and then stood up and walked out of the yard. He was going to the Sutra library to get the basic spell book back. Wu Fan was a little impatient to practice the flying technique. 2 hours later, Wu Fan appeared in front of a huge attic. There was a big plaque on the attic with 3 golden characters Sutra library written on it. He stood in the huge square in front of the attic. From time to time, he could see a few people coming out of the attic, and some people walked in. Wu Fan stopped for a while, and then walked over. After entering the Sutra library, there was an old man sitting behind the table in front of him. He saw the old man, looked at him and said, "Give me the identity card, what do you want to choose?" That Wu Fan hurried over respectfully, handed the identity card to the old man, and then said, "I want the basic spell book. 10 spirit stones, on the bookshelf on the left side of the 2nd floor, go find it yourself." The old man looked at the identity card and threw it to him, saying impatiently. Wu Fan was stunned. Why did he need more spirit stones? But he didn't dare to say it, so he could only take out 10 spirit stones and handed them to the old man, then walked upstairs. Chapter 28 Retreat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 2nd floor is very large, with rows of bookshelves filled with books, but more of them are jade slips. Senior brother Wang told him that cultivators usually use jade slips instead of books. Jade slips are easy to preserve and not as easily damaged as books. The method of use is also simple. Just stick the jade slip on your head and use your spiritual sense to check it. Speaking of spiritual sense, Wu Fan didn't understand it before, but later he learned that he could look inside his body by relying on his spiritual sense. He also knew what the space in his mind was. Cultivators call it the sea of spiritual sense, and the white light ball he often transformed into was actually his primordial spirit. Wu Fan casually took out a jade slip. The jade slip was the size of a palm, white in color, like a jade plaque. He didn't know what kind of jade it was made of. He put the jade slip on his head and began to check it with his spiritual sense. He saw rows of handwriting and pictures in front of him. This was a method called Qingmu Changchun Ju. It was a method for cultivating immortals in the Qi training period. From the 1st level to the 12th level, Wu Fan put the jade slip back and took out another one to read. It also recorded a technique called Lihua Tuna Shu and was also a technique for the 12th level of Qi refining. Wu Fan put the jade slip back and checked them one by one. There were many jade slips in the Sutra library on the 2nd floor, but Wu Fan found that all the jade slips here were the techniques and secrets of Qi refining. He didn't see any of the foundation establishment. Wu Fan even found the fire-burning Ju technique he practiced in it. He spent a whole day on the 2nd floor. There were jade slips recording various refining materials, some small formations, and jade slips recording spiritual herbs and medicines used for alchemy. Wu Fan actually wanted to take all these jade slips away, but unfortunately, he didn't have so many spiritual stones. He had no choice. After finding the basic spells, he took another jade slip of the true explanation of spiritual medicines. This true explanation of spiritual medicines records various rare spiritual medicines, with more than 1,000 kinds. There are descriptions of medicinal herbs and pictures of medicinal herbs. After thinking about it, Wu Fan took another true explanation of spiritual materials. Like the true explanation of spiritual medicines, this jade slip records various precious materials, introduces the uses of each material, and has pictures of various materials for you to identify. In this way, Wu Fan brought 3 jade slips to the old man and handed them to him. The old man took the jade slips, looked at them, took out 3 blank jade slips and began to engrave them. The old man put the jade slips on his forehead, and then took up another jade slip after a while. In this way, after the 3 jade slips were engraved, they were handed to Wu Fan, and the jade slips that Wu Fan took from the bookshelf were collected, and at the same time, he said, "Give me another 20 spiritual stones." Wu Fan had no choice but to hand over another 20 spiritual stones to the old man. Then Wu Fan put the 3 jade slips into the storage bag and returned to his residence. After Wu Fan returned to his house, he sat cross-legged on the bed. His body glowed slightly. As time went by, the light became brighter and brighter. After a quarter of an hour, the dazzling light suddenly disappeared, and Wu Fan disappeared with it. In the small space, Wu Fan first watered the herbs. Although the well water was only enough to water a few herbs, one day outside was 10 days in the space. So, in the past year or so, the herbs that had not been watered were more than 10 years old. However, these herbs were too ordinary and only suitable for mortals. That's why Wu Fan took away the spiritual medicine true solution from the Sutra Pavilion. He wanted to write down all the spiritual medicines and buy some spiritual medicine seeds to plant in the small space later. He also needed to pull out all the ordinary herbs. There was not much land in the space, and Wu Fan couldn't let these ordinary herbs occupy the land. In the space house, there is a hall as soon as you enter the door, and there are 2 rooms on the left and right and in front. Wu Fan has his own plan for these 6 rooms. One of the 2 rooms in the front is a huge space, about 10 miles in radius. Wu Fan plans to use it as a training room. When practicing flying skills and other spells in the future, the space will not be too small. Wu Fan now knew what the other room was used for. Once, Wu Fan went outside the courtyard gate and saw that there were still 7 fruits on the 5 fruit trees. Wu Fan went over to pick all the fruits and put 6 of them in the drawer in that room. He planned to keep the remaining 1 for eating, but later he was busy practicing and forgot to eat it. As a result, a few days later, he found that the fruit had rotted. He was afraid that the 6 fruits would also rot, so he hurried over to check. As a result, when he opened the drawer, he immediately became stunned, because the 6 fruits were the same as when they were just picked from the tree. There was no difference. Wu Fan was shocked. Later, he learned that the drawers in the room were used to store spiritual herbs, spiritual medicines, and spiritual fruits. From then on, whenever Wu Fan found mature herbs, he would pick them and put them in those drawers, and also use this room as a storage room. There are 4 rooms on both sides of the hall. He plans to use one of them as a bedroom and another one as an alchemy room. He now knows that elixirs can help cultivators improve their cultivation quickly and break through bottlenecks, so he decided to learn alchemy in the future. After he knew that he had 5 elements of mixed spiritual roots, he understood that if he wanted to go further on the road of cultivation, he could only rely on elixirs. Wu Fan has not yet decided what to do with the last 2 rooms. Wu Fan was sitting cross-legged on the bed in the space bedroom, holding 3 jade slips in his hands. Wu Fan decided to start with the basic spells. He picked up a jade slip and put it on his head. This jade slip recorded several spells, including flying spells, spiritual eyes spells, fireball spells, water ball spells, ice cone spells, wind blade spells, 6 spells. Wu Fan already knew the flying technique, which was also the technique he wanted to practice the most. The spirit eye technique was also a very powerful technique, and it was the easiest to practice. All he had to do was to transfer the magic power to his eyes. It had 2 functions. One was that he could watch other people's cultivation, but at present Wu Fan could only watch cultivators in the qi refining stage, and he could not watch cultivators above the foundation establishment stage, unless the cultivators in the foundation establishment stage did not hide their cultivation. The second was that he could see through some simple formations, such as when Wu Fan came to the Qiyun mountains before, he was trapped in the illusion formation. If Wu Fan knew the spirit eye technique at that time, he would not have been trapped. Now Wu Fan knew that the illusion formation was a simple formation set up by the Qingfeng sect to deceive mortals, and its purpose was to prevent mortals from breaking into the Qingfeng sect. The fireball technique was an attacking spell that could release a small fireball from his hand. This fireball was not ordinary fire, and its power could burn anything. Water ball didn't have much of an offensive effect, but it could be used when he was thirsty or wanted to wash, so it was quite practical. Ice Cone was also an offensive spell that released an ice cone. The power of Ice Cone was much greater, but the casting speed was very slow. Chapter 29 Selecting a Task. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wind Blade is also an attack spell that can release a wind blade. This spell is not very powerful, but it is fast in release speed, and can even release multiple wind blades in a row. 3 months later in the outside world, more than 2 years have passed in the space. In the training room in the space, Wu Fan was seen flying in the sky on a flying sword, flying forward, flying upward, or making a graceful sharp turn. 2 hours later, Wu Fan landed on the ground with a smile on his face. At this time, Wu Fan suddenly stretched out his palm, and a fist-sized fireball appeared on his palm. Then Wu Fan pushed his palm forward, and the fireball suddenly flew forward, and then exploded in front of him. With considerable power, Wu Fan stretched out his hand again without stopping, and at the same time he was muttering something. Then he saw a huge ice cone slowly appearing in his hand. Wu Fan pushed his palm forward, and the ice cone flew forward with a whoosh. There was a loud bang in the distance, and Wu Fan also laughed. The ice cone is still powerful, but the casting speed is too slow. What a pity. Wu Fan whispered to himself with some regret. At this time, Wu Fan suddenly flicked his sleeves forward again, and saw a wind blade whoosh flew out, as fast as lightning. Well, although the wind blade is not powerful, it is better in the fast casting speed, almost instantaneous. Wu Fan nodded and muttered to himself. Wu Fan finally practiced these 6 spells to a small degree, and he only needed to practice diligently in the future. At the same time, Wu Fan also memorized the true solution of spiritual medicine and the true solution of spiritual materials. Since then, Wu Fan has finally come out after more than 2 years of seclusion in the space. 3 months later, a light suddenly appeared in Wu Fan's room outside, and then the light disappeared, and Wu Fan's figure appeared in the light. Finally, I have practiced all the spells to a small success. I am still at the peak of the 4th level of Qi refining stage and have not broken through. It seems that it is difficult to break through by practicing blindly. Now the most important thing is to quickly sell the spiritual medicines in the space, and then exchange some spiritual stones to buy pills to break through the bottleneck. I don't know how many spiritual stones I can exchange for these spiritual medicines. If it is enough, then I will buy some good magic tools to protect myself. Wu Fan whispered to himself after coming out of the space. After Wu Fan read the true solution to spiritual medicine, he entered the space medicine field to check and learned that there were only more than 30 spiritual medicines in his medicine field. Moreover, these more than 30 spiritual medicines were the most common in the world of immortal cultivation, and they were not precious. However, the only difference was that his spiritual medicines were very old, basically hundreds or thousands of years old, while the remaining acres of land were all ordinary medicinal herbs. Since Wu Fan learned the spiritual eye technique, he could distinguish between spiritual medicines and medicinal herbs. Those that contain spiritual energy are definitely spiritual medicines, and those that do not have spiritual energy are ordinary medicinal herbs. Wu Fan found in his observation that in addition to the more than 30 spiritual medicines, the 5 fruit trees emitted more spiritual energy, but the true solution to spiritual medicine did not record what these 5 spiritual trees were. And these more than 30 spiritual medicines are also of different ages. Some of them reach maturity in 300 to 500 years, and the oldest one only grows for about 1,000 years and stops growing continuously, but there are also records in the true solution to spiritual medicine. Wu Fan is going to the office to get the spirit stones for the past 2 months. The previous 30 spirit stones are gone, and now he has no spirit stones on him. Wu Fan walked out of the courtyard, and he slapped his palm on the storage bag on his waist. A long sword suddenly flew out of the storage bag. He jumped on the flying sword and then turned into a light and flew into the air. Wu Fan looked down at everything below in the air, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He could finally fly. However, the speed of this low-level flying sword was too slow, about the same speed as his full-strength flying swallow step on the ground, and it was incomparable to Brother Lu's flying boat. Wu Fan decided that when he had spirit stones in the future, he must change to a mid-level or high-level flying magic weapon. 2 hours later, Wu Fan seemed to have had enough fun in the sky. He suddenly flew downwards and landed directly in the courtyard of the office. Ha ha ha, I haven't seen you, junior brother Wu, for 3 months. You haven't come to collect the spirit stones for these months. Wu Fan heard senior brother Wang's laughter as soon as he entered the room. I have been practicing the flying technique recently, so I didn't come. Wu Fan replied with a smile. Senior brother Wang took out a bag from the storage bag and threw it to Wu Fan, and said with a smile, "Here, your spirit stones." After Wu Fan took the bag, he scanned it with his spiritual sense and found that there were 90 spirit stones inside. He said with a smile on his face, "Thank you, senior brother Wang. Junior brother Wu, the spirit stones distributed by the sect are not enough for our daily expenses. Have you never thought about earning spirit stones?" Senior brother Wang looked at Wu Fan and said. Wu Fan was stunned when he heard this, and then asked, "Brother Wang, how should I earn spiritual stones?" Of course, it is to do the sect's tasks, such as looking after the medicine garden for the elders, feeding spiritual beasts, helping the sect collect spiritual medicines, collecting materials, etc., all of which can earn spiritual stones. I work in the affairs office to earn spiritual stones. You must know that whether we practice elixirs or go to the Sutra pavilion to watch the secret techniques, we need spiritual stones. If we want to quickly improve our cultivation, we need to buy elixirs. If we want to be powerful, we need to buy high-grade magic tools. So we cultivators cannot do without spiritual stones. Brother Wang said earnestly. Wu Fan thought for a while and said, "Brother Wang, I want to take on a task to collect spiritual medicine." Wu Fan knew that he had to take on the task, otherwise he would not be able to explain where his spiritual stones came from in the future. The spiritual stones given by the sect alone were not enough to buy magic tools. Why did Wu Fan choose the task of collecting spiritual medicine? It was because he had a small space. He could buy some spiritual medicine seeds to ripen them, so that he could easily complete the task. "Okay, I'll help you check it out, brother Wu," brother Wang said, and took out a book to check it out. After a while, senior brother Wang came over with a book and said, "Junior brother Wu, I found out that there are more than 20 spiritual medicine collection tasks. You can choose which one you want to choose." Wu Fan took the book and read it. Collect silver leaf grass. This spiritual medicine can be found 500 miles east of the Qiyun mountains. A 10-year-old medicinal herb can be obtained for 5 spiritual stones, a 15-year-old medicinal herb can be obtained for 10 spiritual stones, a 20-year-old medicinal herb can be obtained for 30 spiritual stones, a 30-year-old medicinal herb can be obtained for 60 spiritual stones, and a 50-year-old medicinal herb can be obtained for 180 spiritual stones. Collect white-bearded ginseng. Spiritual ginseng can be found in the valley 400 miles away from the Qiyun mountains. A 10-year-old ginseng can be obtained by collecting 10 spiritual stones, a 15-year-old ginseng can be obtained by collecting 20 spiritual stones, a 20-year-old ginseng can be obtained by collecting 50 spiritual stones, a 30-year-old ginseng can be obtained by collecting 150 spiritual stones, and a 50-year-old ginseng can be obtained by collecting 400 spiritual stones. Collect honeysuckle, collect Houtuinia cordata, collect tranquilizing grass. In this way, Wu Fan looked through all the tasks, and then he selected 15 spiritual medicine collection tasks, and then stood up and said goodbye to senior brother Wang and left. Chapter 30 Changyang Market. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Wu Fan walked out of the affairs office and was about to release his flying sword to escape, 2 beams of light suddenly flew in the sky in the distance, and then 2 young monks landed not far from Wu Fan. "Brother Zhou, guess how many spiritual stones did they ask me for when I went to the spiritual medicine pavilion to buy the Yuan Yang pill just now?" A young monk of 24 or 25 years old said to another person. "I went there to buy it before, and they asked me for 60 spiritual stones per bottle. Later, I went to Changyang market to ask, and they only sold it for 55 spiritual stones. I will never go to the spiritual medicine pavilion to buy pills again," said another monk angrily. "Yes, so I didn't buy it just now. I plan to go to Changyang market tomorrow. The man who spoke before also said angrily. The two were chatting and walking towards the affairs office, only to see a young man in front staring at them, and then the two of them walked closer and stopped. This junior brother looks very unfamiliar. Did you just join the sect? One of them asked, staring at Wu Fan. Wu Fan quickly clasped his fists and said, this senior brother is polite. I joined the sect 3 months ago. No wonder you look unfamiliar. What can I do for you? I am Bai Xiaowen, and this is senior brother Zhou Yu. The cultivator said with a smile. Hello, senior brother Bai, senior brother Zhou, I am Wu Fan. Wu Fan bowed again and said, Wu Fan said, senior brother Bai, I just heard you talk about Changyang market. I don't know where it is, and I want to go there to take a look. So you want to go to Changyang market, that's easy. I'm going there tomorrow, so you can go with me tomorrow. Senior brother Bai said without hesitation. Thank you, senior brother Bai. Wu Fan was delighted when he heard this, and then he smiled. Then I'll go with you tomorrow. I have nothing to do, and I want to go to the market to see if there is anything I need to buy. We'll meet here tomorrow. What do you think? Senior brother Zhou also said with a smile. Okay, that's settled. Junior brother Wu, I have to go to the office to do some things, so I'll leave now. We'll meet here tomorrow. Bai Xiaowen looked at Wu Fan and said. Since the two senior brothers are busy, I won't bother you anymore. I'll come on time tomorrow. Wu Fan said with a fist, and then released the flying sword to break through the air. When Wu Fan returned to his residence, he entered the small space again, took out all the spiritual medicines to be sold tomorrow, and also took out all the ordinary herbs. There were too many ordinary herbs in the space, and it was useless to keep them. He wanted to go to the market tomorrow to see if he could sell them. After everything was ready, he started practicing again, waiting to go to the Changyang market tomorrow. The next day, Wu Fan came to the office early to wait for the two. About half an hour later, the two finally arrived. As soon as they met, Bai Xiaowen smiled and said, Junior brother Wu, you came quite early. I just arrived not long ago. Wu Fan also smiled and replied. Let's set off now. The man named Zhou Yu also spoke up. Okay, let's set off now. Bai Xiaowen flew into the air on his flying sword, followed by Zhou Yu and Wu Fan. The three flew side by side in the air. Wu Fan used his spiritual eyes to look at the two. Bai Xiaowen had the 6th level of Qi training, while Zhou Yu had the 7th level of Qi training, and only Wu Fan had the 4th level of Qi training. At this time, Bai Xiaowen's voice came over, Junior brother Wu, Changyang market is more than 1,000 miles away from us. It will take us about half a day to fly there. To be honest, I went there to save 5 spirit stones, because the elixirs and magic tools sold in Changyang market are cheaper than those in our Qingfeng sect. I also listened to my senior brother's words yesterday, so I thought of going there today. Wu Fan replied with a smile. The Changyang market was jointly opened by some Immortal cultivation families and some independent cultivators. This market is very large and sells everything. You can even find elixirs and magic tools used by foundation building cultivators. The prices are also fair, so there are many cultivators going to the Changyang market. You don't have to worry about safety issues, junior brother. There are foundation building cultivators stationed in the market, and fighting is strictly prohibited. If you get caught in the market, the consequences will be very serious. Bai Xiaowen looked at Wu Fan and said with a smile. Wu Fan was very satisfied when he heard that the Changyang market was so safe and there were foundation building cultivators stationed there. He was ready to sell all the 30 or so spiritual herbs. Only by selling all the spiritual herbs could he buy what he needed. However, just in case, he still had to go to a few more stores to sell. Wu Fan now knows what a casual cultivator means. Before he joined the Qingfeng sect, he could also be called a casual cultivator. Those casual cultivators have no sect or school, and they don't like to be controlled, so they choose to cultivate on their own. However, it is very difficult for these casual cultivators to cultivate. They don't have the resources given by the sect, no sect as a backing, and no powerful skills and secrets, so they will basically stay in the Qi training stage in this life, and their strength will be much lower than that of the sect disciples. But this is not absolute. Some casual cultivators can finally cultivate to the foundation building stage, or even the golden elixir stage. However, most of these casual cultivators have great opportunities to cultivate to such a high level. The immortal cultivation families are much stronger than the casual cultivators. Although they cannot be compared with the sects, some large immortal cultivation families also have golden elixir ancestors sitting in, and some families have even existed for thousands of years, while some declining immortal cultivation families are very miserable. Some families have only a few foundation building cultivators struggling to support them, and some families don't even have foundation building. After thinking for a while, Wu Fan asked by Xiaowen, "Brother, do you know if there are any magic arrays for sale in the market?" "Brother, I want to buy a magic array." "Of course, there are magic arrays for sale in the market, but the magic arrays are very expensive and I can't afford them." Bai Xiaowen shook his head and replied, Wu Fan really wanted to buy a magic array. He always felt that it was too dangerous for him to go in and out of the small space like this frequently. You know, the spiritual sense of the seniors in the foundation building stage can be explored far away, unlike the spiritual sense of the cultivators in the Qi training stage, which can only be explored for dozens of feet. If a cultivator in the foundation building stage flew over his courtyard one day and accidentally saw him entering and leaving the small space with his spiritual sense, Wu Fan's life would really be gone. The small space is his biggest secret, and he doesn't want anyone to know it, so Wu Fan wants to buy a magic array to put in the courtyard. Half a day passed quickly as the three chatted. "Brother Wu, the Changyang market is ahead." This time it was Brother Zhou who said to Wu Fan. Wu Fan looked forward, but what he saw was an ordinary mountain range. Wu Fan used his spiritual eye technique to look again, and then he found that there was a huge valley in front of him. There were attics everywhere in the valley, and some low-level monks could be seen in an open space. They were setting up stalls and seemed to be selling something. After the three flew into the valley, they landed in a square. Wu Fan looked around at the crowd, listening to the hawking and bargaining, and he was somewhat impatient to look around. "Junior brother Bai, junior brother Wu, I'm leaving first. Let's meet here in 3 days and then go back to the sect together." Zhou Yu looked at Wu Fan and said, "Okay, that's it. See you here in 3 days. Bai Xiaowen also said. Wu Fan nodded and walked into the crowd.